just the sense of community and like kind of the sense of belonging and like knowing that, say, if you go and move anywhere and you join a rugby team, you know you're around like good people. And I think that that is just one of the most awesome things.
It really is a great feeling. And coming from firsthand experience, and when I was on my museum job search, the one requirement I had, I needed to be near a city, and I needed that city to have a rugby team. Join me, Jeremy Swick, on Into the Unknown, a podcast that delves into the personal journeys, stories, and experiences of individuals across diverse professions. As a historian by trade, I firmly believe that our personal histories shape our present and offer valuable insights into our paths ahead. With that being said, let's get into it. On this episode of Into the Unknown, I am joined with a very special guest, Mike Egan. How are you doing today, Mike?
I'm doing well. It's a little rainy outside right now, but we're surviving.
Man, I feel that. I feel that. I was spoiled. I was in Dallas. It was warm there earlier this week, so it's like coming back to the cold. It was a little tough.
Yeah, but at least you brought back some of the heat with it, so that's good at least.
Absolutely, man. So I'd like to kick off the show and talk about the importance of networking. How do we know each other?
We first met through playing rugby with the Barbarians, Milwaukee Barbarians. But then also come to realize we've had mutual friends as well.
It's really cool like how that works, man, because I've kind of lived all over. I moved back from Atlanta, and then as you get to know guys on your team, you start bringing up and the connecting the dots. And shout out Faber, who's your principal, who's also a dude I went to high school with. And so it was so funny the first time I saw him at one of our games because he was there watching you. I'm like, oh, Faber, I haven't seen you in years, and it's just kind of cool that the big small world, man.
Yeah, it's that small walkie effect.
Absolutely, man. So I want to know a little bit more about you, man. That origin story, comic book issue number one. Who's Mike Egan?
Um, well, he grew up on the north side of Milwaukee. Um, kind of really in like one area, but went to school in Brookfield, so I had like a 20-minute drive every day. Growing up, played football, baseball, track, wrestling, but didn't really come until rugby until college. So there's that. Speaking of that, attended UWM, UW Milwaukee for early education for like 3.5 years. Had like a year left to finish, but put a pause on that to kind of support my mom at the time, who was sick, and then was working full time doing like trade jobs of marble restoration, solar panel installation, kind of just all around. Before I had the opportunity from Faber actually to get back into the educational world, and I was a little hesitant at first, but with a lot of like the odd hours I was working, I was just getting burnt out. Um, and then yeah, just eventually decided to hit him up and started at as an educational assistant. Was able to finish my degree online at Concordia, and then I mean from there I've been teaching the past 5 years now. So brings us to here, and excited for what's next.
Yeah, man. So it's one of those things. Growing up, did you play? You mentioned you played a lot of sports.
Mhm.
How did you really find rugby?
It was like the second week of school my freshman year at UWM, and we had there was like one guy that played for like the Panthers, and he just kind of came up to me during English class. He was like, "You look kind of athletic. Have you ever played rugby?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "Would you wanna?" I was like, "Yeah, I'd like try it out." And he was like, "All right, great. Practice today at 6." And I was like, "All right, I'll be there." And the rest was kind of history after that.
It's funny you mentioned that because I think so many people's rugby journeys start that way. There's a guy on campus
Mhm.
who, hey, you should play rugby, and you're like, all right, I got nothing going on.
That's exactly how how it went. I was like, I was looking for something that could to relieve that athletic itch, but yeah, it's been a great time ever since. It's been playing for about 10 years now.
So you mentioned you had to put a pause on school to help your mom. I'm sure that probably was a difficult decision, but also at the same time not difficult at all because, of course, it's your mother and you had the opportunity or the need to help.
Yeah, absolutely. 10 out of 10 would do it again. Um, it kind of I think it allowed me to like also find various just or explore various interests and paths and see what I was really kind of feeling because like the whole time like I thought education was it. And then, like, after spending some time in a kindergarten class and a second grade class, I was like, I don't know if I have this kind of energy. And so it took me, like, it was a weird road, but it took me to various different things of being able to work with, like, manipulate and physical labor. And um, I think it gave me the break I needed to kind of get back to it. But yeah, I mean, again, I would do the decision 10 times over again.
Like it's one of those things that I think until you're in the classroom, you don't really know how much you like it or are unsure
Mhm.
about it. I remember my background was education as well, and while I loved my time in the classroom, I was ready to pivot, and that's where I was, fortunate to go to grad school, and that kind of went down the museum path. But when you decided to kind of jump back in education, did you have the same early elementary school in mind, or what were you looking at after that?
He so when Faber brought me back, he was at a middle school, um, and I haven't tried a middle school yet, and so I was it was kind of a I think this kind of leads into, like, I wasn't sure where it was gonna go, and I was like, this could I mean, it could be really good, it could be really bad. If it's not something that's for me, well, then I can say at least I tried. Um, but what I've kind of found is, like, there's like a happy medium between, like, say, them wanting to be like just kids, and then, like, say, like the elementary kids, and then, like, you have your high schoolers where everything's a little bit more mature. There's like everything's kind of more chilled out, and then, like, middle school is kind of like this happy medium where at least I find it where it's like they want to be treated as adults, but at the same time it's like you can still have these moments where, like, yes, they're still kids, and, like, they're you can goof around with them, you can make jokes with them and everything like that, and it's like that kind of nice balance. And so, like, ever since then, it's just been that's kind of like where I've found my groove.
What subjects did you teach, or do you teach, I should say?
Which subjects haven't I taught? I've did like a month of math. I used to be a building sub as well with the assistant. I've done math, social studies. I did 2 years teaching middle school English through all three grades. And then I'm finishing up my second year in science. So it's been a crazy journey, but I'm liking it so far.
I love to hear that, man. And so, what made you join the Milwaukee Barbarians when you started playing? You had put the pause on college. You had been working.
Mhm.
How'd you get to the Barbos?
I knew a couple guys like left the Barbos, and they played for me. It was CB is the one I had hit up, um, and he was generous enough to give me rides when I didn't have a car, through all those practices, and really formed a nice friendship that way. And he was really the one that kind of that brought me over, and I knew Tom was on the team, and um, just other people as well. And so it was I kind of got into it that way, and I was thinking about, like, say, playing for the other team, the Black and Whites, but I knew I wanted, like, a little bit more structure and kind of like just like a little bit more, like, rigor to it.
That makes a lot of sense, man. Yeah, I was fortunate. I knew Grams from back in the day. So when I moved back to Atlanta, or moved back, excuse me, when I moved back from Atlanta, it was a short text to him and a few other guys, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm coming to the Barbos, and it was funny because I met Zach Price that night, and I gave him the keys to my my apartment down in Atlanta. I was like, hey, you stay there for a day or two, just make sure you turn it into the front desk when you're done. But it's kind of
Oh
funny
wow!
how that rugby community just brings together. It's like, all right, cool. This guy seems good. Here's my completely empty apartment I'm paying for right now because I moved back. But
And that was the first day you met him.
yes,
Oh my god!
yeah,
How did
man.
that conversation even happen?
I think someone had mentioned one because I had reached out online. It was funny, I run the Barbo Social now, but I was running
Mhm.
Atlanta Social as well, and I literally reached out on Instagram. I was like, hey, yada yada, we're moving. It kind of came up that one of the guys was moving there, and I was like, all right, sounds good. When I get to practice on Thursday night or whatever, I think I drove back on maybe Wednesday, so I was really rolling right into practice after that, and I know Price needed a spot. I was like, all right, sounds good, man. Like it's just collecting dust at this point in
Oh
my
yeah,
place.
that's awesome.
What would you say rugby has taught you? Just outside of obviously the game, learning the game, but what would you say rugby's taught you?
Um, Kind of just like the sense of community. I think that whenever you go to like say a rugby tournament or things like that, or like we look at like what we do after our games and everything like that, and just how so many people are able to come together and kind of just support each other. And I mean, you can lean on each other, especially like literally in games. And I think that when you go to like tournaments, it's like everybody knows everybody. Everybody's super friendly. I mean, you go and beat each other's faces in, and then you go and have a beer after. It's like, what other really kind of sport does that? And it's it's just the sense of community and like kind of the sense of belonging and like knowing that say if you go and move anywhere and you join a rugby team, you know you're around like good people. And I think that that is just one of the most awesome things.
It really is a great feeling. And coming from firsthand experience, and when I was on my museum job search, the one requirement I had, I needed to be near a city, and I needed that city to have a rugby team. Everywhere else, I was willing to go. I was applying to jobs all over the country, and I was fortunate got the opportunity up in Minnesota. I actually lived with some college rugby teammates while I was up there. Lived in Akron, Ohio for a little bit, and played with Akron for a short little bit. Then, of course, when I moved out to Atlanta, joined guys at Old White, and again, it was that instant community. And we had a funny story. A lot of guys didn't even know what I looked like. They just knew Sumo was joining the team, whoever this Sumo guy is. And I'm meeting him at a spot downtown in Atlanta, and every guy who walked into the building, they just yell Sumo to try to figure out if it was me or not. And about the sixth guy, it finally was me, and it was just a really cool experience because then they were all excited, and a bunch of random people just been called Sumo as they were walking into the bar. But it was kind of a really cool experience when you're able to move, and then of course you stay friends with a lot of those guys. And
Hmm.
I was in Savannah a couple weeks ago playing with my old team. New guys come on, and it's just like kind of a really cool community, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and it's like again, it's like no matter where you go, you're gonna find a home with somebody, and even if it's like somebody like who you've never met, and like you have them literally yelling your name as they walk into a bar. So yeah, like what other place does that?
Yeah, it's really cool, man. I think, and it's tough for I think honestly a lot of men that don't have a sport to get out with, because it's like, all right, you're done. Let's say you went to school, stopped playing in high school, any kind of sports. Maybe you went to college and did some intramurals. A lot of times, there's not a whole lot of friends you make as adults. I've heard it's really hard. For me, it's not because I've just continued to play rugby forever. So I literally find like 40 friends wherever I go. But it's one of those things where I think, especially when you move, it gets you out there right away. Like I said, when
Mm.
I moved to Atlanta, I was at practice probably that week that I moved in, and same with the barbells. There was the next day. I remember I delayed my start date for my job down here so I could play with my Atlanta club that Saturday. I showed up to practice on Thursday, and then I was playing Pigs Fest with the barbells that the next weekend. And
I
so it's
remember
like,
that.
just keep it going. And of course, I don't even know half the guys on the team that I'm playing with at that point, with the first pig fest. But again, it jumps in, and you kind of create that community.
Yeah, and I think that was like the our first tournament together match, and I think that that was also when we met. So just to kind of make it a kind of a full circle moment right there.
It really is, man. On everyone's journey, you kind of make a decision, not really knowing the outcome. Can you give me a time where you just went for it and how it turned out?
Yeah, I believe I hinted at it just like a little bit ago, but I think making the decision to leave the trade jobs I was working, um, said like I enjoyed like the physical labor and learned numerous skills through it, but uh, again, yeah, I was just like voicing kind of how to Faber like how I wasn't happy. I was exhausted and like just kind of things like that. And like I didn't know what middle school was like or things like that. And it was like it was it was a little bit of a culture shock to kind of just switch like that. And like I started ended one weekend with doing a trade job, and then like the very next week I was at a school, like being helping and teaching, and like it was just kind of really just a surreal, quick kind of switch, and one that I think was probably the one of the best decisions I made. Um, it's led to me finding my passion again for it. It's found me being able to kind of have outreach in the community and help people and help students and get connected with other families and just be as supportive as I can. And I think that um, it is it's not an easy job, I'll say that, but it's one of the most rewarding jobs that I think there is.
No, that's really awesome, man. I think it's so important when you get those crossroads because I always tell people you don't really know the outcome. I think it might have bothered you for a long time if you would never really would have gone back into it. Of course, I'm sure you
Hmm.
would have had a successful, career in the trades, but I think, as you kind of alluded to, that itch hadn't been scratched quite yet, and it was
Yeah,
still that curiosity. I think.
yeah, absolutely. And it was like could have been like that, there's kind of like that what if, and like yeah, maybe down the road I could have gone back to it and done all that, and but I thought it was like reflecting back on it, it's like it was the right decision.
So, besides rugby, what else do you like to do, man?
Um, well, right now, not saying that I like it, but we're working on packing up the house. We're moving soon, but outside of that, I mean, really just kind of being outside. I like to golf when I can. Just kind of just be active, really. And say taking my dog who before we started popped up, sat on my lap. Just taking him for like walks or like things like that, and just kind of yeah, just being outside really and being active and being with friends and everything that that entails.
I love that. I love that, man. Title of the podcast: Into the Unknown. What are you working on now? What do you got going on in your life, man?
It's we're wrapping up the school year. We got about 8 weeks left, and then after that, it's kind of ramping up the rugby season for the summer and kind of also going into another fork in the road moment where I don't really fully know what's next. I mean, spent my kind of whole life living here in Milwaukee, and have always wanted to kind of venture out and try a new city. And I'm sure that you can speak to how kind of rewarding that can be. Um, so, about in August, I'll be moving down to Chicago and moving in with my girlfriend. It's a very bittersweet kind of moment, but I think that it's a new chapter that I'm definitely excited for, and I think that for as a personally and professionally, like I'm going to be looking to continue to teach down there, and don't have anything yet, so we're working on that, but I'm excited to kind of start a new chapter that way, and like while kind of still putting a close on this one, it's like I'm not hours away, so it'll be good to kind of come up when I sometimes when I want to go to a Packer game or a Brewer game or something like that, and so I can keep my cup full that way, but then also enjoying this new experience and new chapter in my life. And I think that from looking back to kind of when I first started, say with the Barbos, when I was like 21, 22, and now being 30, it's like it's crazy how much I've grown in those years, and like just on top of everything here, and then if there's another club in Chicago, looking for a spot. So that's what I think would be next for me.
Man, that is awesome. As a teammate, I hate this, and I don't want you to move to Chicago. But on the other side, I tell people, man, if you have the opportunity to move outside your comfort zone, outside your city, like do it. It'll test you. I mean, don't get me wrong, it will
Mhm.
test you. There'll be days where I'm like, what the blankety blank did I do? Like I had such a great setup, but I think once you kind of get over that unknown or that fear of the unknown, it really is exciting to kind of embrace that new challenge. And I've told you, I think I've lived in like 14 cities and like 4 states in like 7 years. And, most
Mhm.
of those were in Atlanta, but it was still kind of that unknown. And I kind of knew I was a Wisconsin guy through and through. So eventually I kind of realized, throughout the years I was going to make my way back. But I also didn't really know what that meant. I thought maybe when I was in Minnesota, I would finish that position and move back to Wisconsin. And then, the Atlanta opportunity at the College Football Hall of Fame popped up. And I was like, again, man, it was one of those moments where it's like, I got to see it. I got to try it.
Oh,
I could hate it.
absolutely.
I could come back, but like it was so rewarding. And I think, It's really cool to see you do that and kind of go to your next level. Although it is in Chicago, and as long as you don't become a Bears fan, I think we'll be all right, man.
Absolutely not. I would hope you drive down and take me out or something if that were to happen.
I love that, man. It's funny too because I always love it when my friends move because then I got a spot to come visit. So
Exactly.
I'll definitely be hitting you up, man, because it is cool because you just get to explore new cities, and especially if you're playing rugby down there, you just meet a new group of guys. And my favorite thing is because, as you mentioned, I asked you before the show how many different clubs you had played for, and you had mentioned Milwaukee and then UWM and then the Barbos. I've played on quite a few, but the funniest thing is you're going to find guys that are so similar to your guys here. Like there's
Mhm.
another Kevin Schmidt on many teams.
Oh
There's
god.
another Stork somewhere. There's and like they're not the exact same, but there's things they do like. And I think a lot of it's the body types. The props are always going to be props. You know,
Yeah.
grazing around the bar and the food, but it is really fun to kind of see that. And then of course your guys meet their guys, and especially when you have one of those kind of crossover moments where maybe we end up playing you guys. It's a really cool moment, and I've enjoyed that over the years too.
Yeah, like I definitely like look forward to it because I know like there's a Chicago team we play coming up in a few weeks that I may try and holler at, but yeah, no, it's like it'll be a very surreal moment if and when we do get to play each other. Um, and I think it's like I think back to like when we were in France, there was a time where we had like an actual game that we played against a team, and then we had it was like kind of like a organized scrimmage practice that it was kind of a blend of like the France team, our team, and I think another team that was there too. And it was like just all of us all kind of in a hodgepodge, and so we would play against some of our guys, and I can tell you that the intensity really went up because we could actually tackle each other, and so it was. I look forward to it and like just having kind of like that surreal full circle moment, and um, just to also see you guys again. So it'll be something that I think that would be really awesome.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. If people want to learn more about you and your story, can they find you online? Where are you?
Yeah, I mean, Facebook is just my name, Michael Egan. Instagram is Easy Eags, EAZY underscore EEGZ, and then 414. Got to keep the Milwaukee going. So, um, set to private, but definitely open for connecting professionally, and still looking for a school down in Chicago and a rugby team. So, be in the I believe uptown areas we're going to be moving.
Awesome, man. Well, as we close out, I want to say thanks again for being on the show, man. And, thanks for being a great teammate. We've had fun at going to Packer games, playing in games together.
Hmm.
It's been cool to get to know you, man. I consider you a good friend, bro.
I consider you as well, and I'm looking forward to some more stories before my time up. My time here is up. So
Yeah, we
let's
got a
go.
few
Let's set
months,
up
man. We got a
another.
few months. We'll be good.
Yeah, let's set up another brew game soon.
Absolutely. I'll catch you soon, bro.
All right, have a good one.
That was another fun episode of Into the Unknown. I truly appreciate you taking the time to listen. And if it provides you any value or entertainment, I would love if you shared it with others, liked, subscribed, and really just help the podcast grow. Again, tell a friend, tell a foe, just anyone who might enjoy hearing some stories of people's own journeys and what got them to where they are today. Till next time.